Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
And Courtney, how are you?
I'm fine.
I was like, how is she going to answer this? Because she's not okay.
I'm fine. Been better, but I'm making it. I've been trying to eat healthier and be normal, but today I'm having a Mountain Dew Baja Blast, so
Perfect.
things are better in the world than they could be. But I'm not really going to talk about me. I'm going to talk about what I did last Thursday, which was
Good.
very fun. Before everything fell apart. Just kidding. But I went to a live performance of Sinisterhood, the podcast.
Very
I know
nice.
I'm sure I've talked about it on here before, but it's
Yeah.
a true crime comedy-ish podcast, and it's one of the host is an attorney in Texas, and she gave up her job as an attorney to do Sinisterhood, and she is just
I could
so
give up my
smart.
job to do my podcast.
The dream, right? The dream.
Yeah.
One day we got a new, I'm gonna interrupt myself. We got a new follower on Twitter who's like super stoked.
Yeah, they were great.
So hello.
Yeah,
We
hello.
never get interactions, even when we get new
Yeah.
listeners. So.
And I responded and I talked to them, but they didn't have a name in their bio. They
I
had
saw it pop up.
they had their pronouns and their like what they're into, but no name. And so hello friend on on Twitter.
I am full disclosure, I saw it pop up because I get notifications.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I should go like this. It was like posted 1 second ago, and I was like, maybe I should wait a second. It was like, maybe it'll be creepy.
No,
I think you did it like before
responded
20 minutes.
Yeah, I was like, I think I responded as soon as I got the notification on my phone too, so it was fine.
Yeah, it was like half an hour later, and I was like, okay, I'll go make sure, like, I'll go respond now so it doesn't look creepy. And then you had already responded. I was like, okay, cool. But yeah, so I went to Sinisterhood, and I just love them. They're so funny. I got the VIP ticket, so they do like a live Q&A at the end. Of course, it's live. It's in person. Jesus Christ, my brain. They do a Q&A at the end for the VIP members, and so it's very cool. And I asked them like what their favorite bad movie is, and told them that I raved about them at the First Degree meetup. And I was like, now that I'm telling you this story, I realized that I may have been a little unhinged. They were telling them about you last week. And she was like, were they mad at you? I was like, no, they were a little tipsy. So I'm not sure they cared that what I was talking about. They just seemed thrilled. Like, they're like, okay. So perfect. I'm sorry, Heather and Christy. I'm not actually an unhinged person. Although I may have seemed that way last week, but it was just so great. They're doing what they're calling their full moon energy tour, and I meant to look up and see if it's going to Buffalo, because I don't think Monica listens to them, but it's all about the moon first of all, and there's some Twilight references, so I feel like she needs to go to their live show if it is going to Buffalo.
Oh my gosh, we were talking about midnight showings of movies the other day, like with a group of people that I had never met before. And I was like, yeah, I think I went to like 1 or 2 of the Harry Potter like full moon or midnight premieres, and I go, and 4 of the 5 Twilight.
I've only been to like 2 midnight movies, I think, and it was the very last Twilight because my mom was super into them. And oh no, there was 3. That one, Evil Dead the remake, the original one, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And one more that I went to, I think it was one of the Marvel movies, maybe, because I was with a group of people from school, and we all ended up falling asleep in our class the next day, like in the same class together.
Valid.
But I think those are the only 3 I've ever been to for like midnight movies, which is sad. I love it. I've been to all the Books a Million midnight premiere, midnight release Harry Potter books.
Well,
How are you
that's
though?
funny. That's funny because what I'm going to talk about right now is actually Harry Potter.
I love it. I'm so excited. That was a great transition.
It was a great transition. So, like I said in the last couple episodes, I will not really have much to talk about ever again except for London. But one of the things that I did when I was in London was the Leavesden Warner Brothers studio tour.
I am so jealous. It is like real high on my bucket list.
Right. And unlike some of the other WB tours and other studio tours, like a lot of the gift shops are the same, some of the props and stuff they have in other places, but this is the one that's at the Leavesden studio. So it's like the pieces are what they actually filmed on. So
Mhm.
it's like a little overwhelming. And we went um for Dan, really not for me. Like I had a great time, but we did not go for
Very.
me. You don't understand his family in Harry Potter. Like it wasn't for me. I had a wonderful time. It was not for me. Like
I think you misunderstand Harry Potter and my family, but that's okay. That's
probably fair.
okay.
But so like we went. He was really worried and we weren't going to have enough time and the tour was later than we wanted and he was getting angry at how the route that the bus driver was taking to get there and he was like so anxious and he was like running through things and I was like, you got to calm down, it's going to be pretty, it's going to be fine, it's going to be great, we're going to have plenty of time. And we did, and it was fine. But I need to tell you,
Oh gosh.
I didn't think that I would have a super emotional reaction to it. Because, like I said, like I love Harry Potter. Like, do not get me wrong. That is not at all what I'm saying. But compared to a lot of other people in my love for Harry Potter seems tame and sane.
Fair. That's fair.
Right. Like my ex-best friend has like a full sleeve of really bad Harry Potter tattoos.
Oh no.
She doesn't think they're bad. I do. But
Sure, sure.
but and, and so but you get there and you go through this queue and they've got posters and they've got like the places where you can like eat and everything. And then you start the actual tour. And the tour starts with like a bunch of videos like welcoming you and blah 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 and everything. And then we're sitting there in this theater watching this video welcoming you and everything. And I was like, wouldn't it be so cool if like the screen just disappeared and we were at the castle? Which is exactly what happened. The
I
screen
love
lifted
that.
up and it was the doors to the Great Hall. And when I tell you, I was no longer a functioning human being at that moment. Like I gasped in a way I didn't know I was capable of. And I was like, this is this is like real. Like this is the real place where they were, like that they stood. And I think we were there for 4.5 hours. The one thing I'll say, Dan said my butterbeer was ice cream was better than the butterbeer at the studio.
Mm.
It's like, thanks.
So you'll
But
have to
no,
make me that.
yeah. But yeah, it was so fucking cool.
I'm so, I'm so
And like the cool thing about it, I feel like it's great because it also goes into some of the things that like are the issue in entertainment right now is because like they have an entire section of the studio just dedicated to like the scenic artists and the paintings that were made before there was even a set. And like they have, you get to walk through like the monster shop and see the process of making the molds and like all of the things that they did for all of
love
the
that.
goblins and stuff. And so like this studio tour, like yes, it's great and you see like all the cool things and you see the set and you can take pictures and everything's amazing, but like it's not about the actors, it's not about the story, it's about the set painters and the scenic artists and the prop designers and the costume designers and the production teams
The people
and
that
like
made it happen.
the people that make the movie. And like for me, that was way more a big deal than like, yes, I was looking at like literally walking through the Forbidden Forest, but also
Mm.
like but also like I saw the literal only practical buckbeak that was ever used on screen.
I
Like,
love that so much.
yeah. So like shout out to everyone who works in an art shop or a costume shop or a design studio who is the real fucking heroes of all of the movies that we make, because Harry Potter would, like, sure, the books are great and the actors are wonderful and everybody loves the stories, but Harry Potter wouldn't be the magic it is without the castles and the costumes and the lights and the technical magic. And like that is, it was so
that.
great. I will say though, I took 2,500 pictures for the entire trip that we were in London.
I don't know
Dan
that I've taken 2,500 pictures in my life.
Dan took 2,500 pictures the day we went to the Harry Potter studio.
See, at least you guys document stuff. I never do. And people are like, what was this like? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm sure it was fine.
Like,
Very
I was
fine.
like, I was trying to upload his pictures to the Google, because we made like a Google presentation, like,
Yeah.
so we could show his family the pictures and everything. And I was trying to upload his pictures and it literally wouldn't let me upload them because he doesn't have a paid for Google account and he took too many pictures. His Google Photos is done. And I was like,
hilarious.
I was like, there's still 1,100 pictures you haven't uploaded.
Yeah, we made a folder for our cruise, and by we I mean Rachel, because she took all the pictures, and I just go back and look at them now. I didn't have anything to add.
Yeah, no. But since we're feeling the love, do you have? We're feeling well. We're talking about great podcasts and great movie makers and all of the things in the entertainment industry that people take for granted that are wonderful and why we do what we do. And so while we're living on that high, can you please enlighten us with some words of kindness and encouragement?
You know I can. You know I can.
It sounds like I'm introducing a pastor. I don't know.
Look, we're just preparing for next episode.
Yeah.
So, honey, this is it. This is your one chance at life. So heal what needs to be healed, set the goals, get out there and just freaking go for it. You already have what it takes to get there.
Love that. I love that.
I feel like the less well I'm doing, the more encouraging spirituality
the quotes become. So, I love it.
On the days where you're like, what are you saying? That doesn't even make sense. I'm doing fantastic those days. I don't need any encouragement.
No.
But these, I'm like the most like powerful thing it's ever said. It's like,
it's because you're giving it to yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. I need it.
But you know what I need?
It's
Stargate. It is Stargate. I always need more Stargate in my life.
I have to tell you a really funny story about Stargate now that we're here.
Perfect.
We were talking about, and by me, I was talking about Stargate at the office the other day, and Brian's like, isn't it that parody of like the stuff? I was like, no, what are you talking about? And then we like are going more. He's like, it's like a movie. I was like, it is a movie, but it's like also a series. And I was like, the movie's terrible. Don't watch that. Yeah. And then we're going through it. I'm like thinking, and I was like, oh my God, are you talking about Galaxy Quest? And he was like, yes. I was like, first of all, love that movie. I watched it a lot as a child. Mm-hmm. Very different from Stargate.
Very different. Very different things. So, yeah.
Very funny. But yes.
Well, we are talking about Stargate, not Galaxy Quest. If you came here to talk about Galaxy Quest, I don't know how, because nothing that you would have clicked on would have told you that that's what we're talking about.
We would not have gotten you there.
So Stargate SG-1, Season 4, Episode 2, The Other Side. It was only rated 7.8 stars, which I think is fair. I don't think there was some interesting thought in this episode. It wasn't great.
I don't think I would have ranked it lower. So maybe it's right, because I thought it was well done. I enjoyed it.
Oh no, I think it was well done, and I think wait till you guys hear what I have to say about our guest star. But I don't think it was a great episode. And after like going from the high of the replicator story to okay. Like you know what I mean? So I get
I
why
mean,
it was
I am not as committed to the replicators as much yet. So I thought it was like intense.
fair.
But if I
Uh
was doing a rewatch, I'm sure that would be different.
it came out on July 7th, 2000. We had the same number one song, and Making Iglesias is still in charge. The number one book that week, whatever, was Hot Six by Janet Ivanovich.
Ivanovich.
Yeah.
We just talked about her because like 3 weeks ago, her other book was in the
Okay, yeah. I was
the
like, that
tops.
I
Because I
don't
brought
know.
her up and I was like, "Have you read the series? One for the money, and then that's the first one, and then two for
Yeah.
something or other." But I've read like the
Yeah.
first like three.
Okay, well, Hot Six is obviously the sixth of the Stephanie Plum
Right.
series, which is a crime novel series about a bounty hunter. Every book is numbered. I think one of the way later ones was the number one book in something that you were talking about that
Yeah.
happened. So,
It's actually a really good series, and I get burnt out on detective series, so for me to
okay,
recommend it, it's actually really good.
nice.
For anyone, and she's still writing
Yeah,
them. Like the 27th one, I think just came out. Like they're still coming
yeah,
out.
interesting. The number one movie,
Oh gosh, is it Galaxy Quest?
it is not. It is Scary Movie, like the
Number one, the
original number
original.
one
I think
Scary
that's the only one
Movie.
I've seen.
I have seen, I think this third one, whichever one is the parody of The Ring. That's the one that I've seen.
I think it might be the second one,
Yeah. Um,
but I haven't seen it. So
this one, the main things, Scary Movie, the main things that it parodies are Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. But I did go through and look at a list of everything that it parodies to tell you all the things that it parodies that we've already talked about on the podcast. Which the first Scary Movie does make references to Halloween, the Blair Witch Project, and Psycho. So,
sure, I gotta rewatch. I haven't watched it
yeah.
since
I think I need to rewatch them
15
now
years
that I've
ago.
watched, like now that I'm
Yeah,
more into
the
horror
scary
movies.
movies.
Because
Me
like
too.
it didn't do anything for
It
me.
didn't hit the same, right?
Which is why the
Yeah.
only one I saw was the one where they did The Ring, because The Ring was the only scary movie I'd seen.
Yeah, I watched the first one, but I hadn't seen any of the movies. So like when I watched it.
No. The on this day fact is very fitting to everything that we have been talking about so far.
Oh.
Because July 7th, 2007, well, technically July 8th, was, I don't know how to phrase this. July 7th, 2000 was the first time in the history of the Barnes and Nobles that they were preparing for a midnight release party for a Harry Potter book because
This
Harry
is the one I
Potter
missed.
and Goblet of the Fire
Wait.
came
Oh no,
out
this
on
one I was at.
This is the first one that they did because the first three books
Oh,
didn't
then
get
I didn't miss any.
the first three books didn't remember the first three books didn't come
That
out at the
makes
same
sense.
time in the US as they did in England. So the fourth book was when it was actually a phenomenon. So July 7th, 2000 was the first Barnes and Noble, like Amazon, Borders, everybody midnight release party for a Harry Potter book.
I think I was there. Oh no, maybe I missed one. I may have made it to Order of the Phoenix.
I wasn't there for this one because I was still young enough that I was spending the summers at my grandparents in the floor, like in North Carolina for the summer. So I wouldn't have been at a summer release anything. Because they would not have taken an 8-year-old somewhere at midnight. They were grandparents, but they weren't insane. But yeah, so that was the very, very first Harry Potter midnight release party was on this day.
I love
But like,
that.
also, how old are we?
Dedicated this episode.
How old are we that Harry Potter's first midnight release and the first scary movie things are what we're talking about right now?
No, and like remembering them happening and talking about them right now. Yeah, it's fine. I'm 1,000. I've just accepted it. Right. I was at an AI conference on Wednesday, and Do you know Black Sheep Driz, who was with NWA and Native Tongue
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
Latifah and all them?
Yeah.
So the song that is uh the choice is yours. You can get with this or you can get
Oh,
with
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So he performs the song because he's there. He performs it. I'm like, I know the callbacks because I'm not a moron.
Yeah.
No one around me knows the callbacks. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, there's one woman right behind me who also knows. And then the
That,
two guys beside me, no idea. They start doing engine number 9, and he like doesn't say 9 because it's callback. It's like
yeah.
whatever, call and response. No one beside me. I was like, okay, it's fine.
It's
I'm
fine.
90 now.
Great.
It's okay.
Cool.
So
Um, this episode was directed by Peter DeLuise, written by Brad Wright, and edited by Brad Rines.
welcome back, everyone.
So, our guest star. The guest star for this episode is Renee Auberjonois. Now, if you are a sci-fi nerd, you know who Renee is. He is most famous for his role in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which then he also was in like every Star Trek that came after that. The character came back. That's how Star Trek kind of works. But so he is most known for his role in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. He was also in MASH, the movie, not the TV show, and The Patriot with Mel Gibson. He won a Tony in 1970. He did a lot of stage work as well. Both of his children are still in the entertainment industry. They're both actors. Neither one of them has been really in anything that is big. They've done a lot. Both of them do a lot of TV bit parts where they're in like 1, 2, 3 episodes of things.
Yeah.
The most important role he had that would have impacted you.
Thank you, because I was like, I recognize his face. I haven't seen any of the things you've mentioned.
Well, no, the thing that would have impacted you also doesn't have his face in it. Because he also did some animation work, particularly with a name like Rene Auberjonois. You know that despite being born in America, he's not necessarily not ethnic. He played Chef Louis in Little Mermaid. He he.
I love it. I bet that is why I know his name then. But I definitely know his face from somewhere too.
He was the oldest member of the the oldest member of the cast of Star Trek. When he passed away in 2019, he was the oldest living member who was of the cast that was not from the original series. So like William Shatner was older than him, but he was the only one. He did pass away.
He had his mind still then.
Right. Well, he he did pass away from metastatic lung cancer in 2019. He's been in a lot of things. He's a huge deal. So like I'm sure you have seen his face in things before. But also like he's a huge deal not just in the entertainment industry. Because his mother, Princess Lori, was like actually a princess. His great great grandmother was Napoleon Bonaparte's sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Way to bury the lead.
His mother was a princess, and his father was a wartime journalist from Switzerland during World War II, and they met in Europe and moved back to America. Renee was born in America, but he actually grew up in Paris.
I bet his ancestors knew Annie Lenormand. She's what I wrote my book about, her oracle cards.
Yeah, but yeah, no.
She was Napoleon Bonaparte's wife's oracle reader.
Oh yeah, well yeah, his great great grandmother was Napoleon Bonaparte's younger sister. If there was still a monarchy in France, he would probably not have become an actor. It's fine.
Sure. Well, choices.
Choices. Yeah, so I was like looking stuff up yesterday, like last night, to get stuff about him because obviously I know who Renee is because Little Mermaid, Star Trek, that's my jam. So But I was like going to get all this stuff up, and it said when I saw his mother's name, it was like Princess Lori Louise, blah blah, like 15 names, and one of them was Bonaparte. And I was like, hold on. So I pulled some things up, and I just keep going back up his family history because when you're royalty, you can keep going back up people's family history
the entire rest of your life. Yeah,
and then I just go, oh God, like not even like sort of anciently related. His great great grandmother.
that's my dream, is to figure that out about my life.
I know.
So if you ever want to go down my family plan and find me some royalty,
cool. I would like to do that for myself too. I mean, I'm related to Winston Churchill. But the thing is, my family member who came over on the Mayflower had like 17 kids. And then those kids all survived, which was really weird for the 1600s. And then they all had a shit ton of kids. So like I'm related to Teddy Roosevelt and George Bush, but so distantly that like doesn't fucking matter at all. That great grandparent, whoever, his brother who stayed in England was related to Winston Churchill. So I am related to Winston Churchill by the most convoluted fucking path, like that goes back 500 years, but I am because it was based on someone who was famous enough for me to know that. But I really want to like map the whole thing and figure out like just how many times removed I'm related to Winston Churchill, but that feels like a project.
You got some time. You're not in school for a couple of months. You got time.
Sorry, the podcast will be on hiatus for the rest of the summer because I will be searching Winston Churchill's ancestors.
Look, you do what you got to do.
So, with that nonsense, let's get into the episode. Jack returns from his fishing trip that he finally fucking got to go on after the last million episodes of him trying. 2 hours early to find that Sam never left.
Mm-hmm.
And that on top of that, there have been 5 unauthorized activations of the Stargate in the last hour and a half. So, like, welcome back. Let's get to work.
Right. Yes.
They finally, yeah, Daniel's also still there, and Teal'c doesn't have anywhere to go. So, like, sure. When they finally do, so the activations that are coming in have a weird distorted radio signal. When they finally do find the radio signal, they find that it's someone asking for help on the other side. And they realize that all of these activations have included sending people over who have then hit the iris. So there are now 3 people confirmed dead from this group that is supposedly asking for help.
So here's the thing. This is happening at SGC. But who's to say we're not going to go through the Stargate? And by we, I mean SGC. I'm not one of them. Who's to say we're not going to go through the Stargate and immediately die on the other side? Like, how come that's not something we have to worry about?
They don't, because every time they activate a gate, they send a melt through first.
Oh, right. Okay, that tracks.
Yeah. I was like, that one I actually can't answer. That one I've got.
I also did know that, but my brain did not go there.
So yeah, if anyone else were to have buried or closed the Stargate, we would know because we send non-living organisms through first.
Which makes the most sense.
Yeah. But yes. Then we have our credits. Now, I have a question.
Okay.
I did not watch this on Amazon. I watched it on the DVD. When you watched it on Amazon, what were the credits?
I did not watch them because I was at work. I listened to the credits because I just assumed they were the same as they always are.
Okay, because remember last week in our trivia, it said that this season switched back to the picture credits, right. But my DVD wasn't. My DVD was the original, Raw statue credits, and I was very confused because I remember telling you last week that I will watch the credits closely this week to see if the pictures changed, and then I didn't have picture credits, and I was like, I completely forgot. I'm confused. Okay, well, guess we will still not answer that question until next week.
Yeah, Stay tuned.
Stay
Listen to us
tuned.
another week to learn about the credits.
So when the credits are over, we come back and the team plays their radio message for Hammond. And while they're discussing what they could actually do to help these people, if they even wanted to help them, the gate is activated again. And apparently they have recalibrated to be able to have two-way communications. So they explain their position and like why the gate is closed and who they are. And then the man on the other side explains that there is a war on this planet Uranus and the fact like and tells them how much they need help. He also like switches the communications to a video comm so like they can see him and show that he is like actually human. And
so here's another question.
Yeah.
In the past, the only way we've had the video calls have been because we sent them out through, right? So
Correct.
How does he get the video?
He has the technology to do that. We do not. That's why they were shocked that it happened.
But it just like connects to ours without any.
He basically like projected it through the radio signal because he has communication that can do that. Or like technology that can do that. That was like the first sign that.
But okay, I'll accept it.
No, I mean that was their first sign that this was definitely an advanced civilization because they don't know how he did that.
Just like technologically,
yeah,
that doesn't feel like something you can do without having prior connection between the bases or like shared technology at a minimum.
Well, if you have a communication link open, like it's the same way that we do video calls on the same like internet or phone networks that we would do voice calls. We just we just needed to change the interface to be able to do the video. So
but they're the same technology.
Yeah, they have video communication. Like they have video receivers that they use with the melt. They just didn't have the ability to send a video. But if they're using the same like radio frequency and they have a video receiver, he sent it. I mean, you'd have to like go into the actual like physics of the radio waves and stuff, but like it is possible.
Anyone who's done that, feel free to message.
I mean, think about it. When we first, even like 4 years ago, cell phones didn't all have like. Remember when FaceTime first came out, and like if you had an Android phone, you could like
Mary Kate, I'm not that old yet. Everything we're talking about is making us sound very old.
Yes, but and then if you had an Android phone, you couldn't use FaceTime, even though you had all of the same like phone stuff. And it was stupid. And then like phone companies were like, oh, that's dumb. You just have to have the same interface. So like I can video call Dan because he also has a Samsung. I video call Renee because she also has a Samsung. I can't video call you unless I do it on Snapchat because Apple won't let me.
You can voice call. I mean, you can video call on Facebook.
I can video call on Facebook, but like I have to do it through an app. So like I could Google Meet you, I could Zoom you, I could video Apple, like Facebook, but Apple changes their software so that that's not possible. It's not that the phone can't do it, it's that Apple won't let you. But that's a whole other conversation about technology monopolies and software incompatibilities and my hatred and disdain for Apple.
I am so sorry I have taken us off the rails. I do sincerely apologize.
Like I said, I have nothing to say about this episode, so it's fine.
Great, because I'll keep saying stuff.
But before disengaging the video, he sends them the coordinates to Uranus so they can, in fact, go and help him, maybe. Daniel puts together a PowerPoint presentation about the humanity. Not really, he just says it this time, but that's a very Daniel thing to do. About the humanitarian reasons why they should go and help. And he's ready to like jump. Remember at the drinking game and how anytime Daniel starts to defend himself, even though Hammond's already agreed with him? Check that box today.
I should play the drinking game with coffee while we record, and I'll never get tired again.
Right.
I have a heart attack, but I won't get tired.
Hammond agrees, that they should go help, but then he also like secretly tells Jack that like they're not actually going there to help, they're going to negotiate for technology.
Mhm. Mhm. I
Which,
mean, isn't that always their plan though? Like,
yes, yes. The weird thing is that Jack is usually all about that, and he seems to not take Hammond's request very well.
yeah, he's out of sorts. Out of sorts this
Yeah,
episode.
some weird emotional turmoil happening for Jack right now. Um, they go through the gate, and they are told they only have 24 hours to return before they're going to be locked out. Um, Jack and Teal'c still seem on edge about the whole thing, about even going to this place. They're just like really not about it. Um, but they go through and they immediately find an injured Alar and his people, and they go to help. Um, Alar seems real reticent about Teal'c being there, which
Yeah. I mean, everyone is.
everyone is, but this one felt weird. And then we learned that it's not because he's a Jaffa, it's because he's a racist, but that's fine.
Yeah, just pick your poison for the day.
Um, wow. Um, so he also has like some medicine that can like instantly heal a concussion, which like where the fuck is that?
Well, didn't we have something similar on a different planet? Um,
I
oh
don't.
gosh, what episode was that?
I mean, we've seen some stuff that like can heal shit that doesn't make sense, but I want to know how you heal a concussion. Because like
I think it was something similar though, like a broken bone or like
yes, but broken bones can heal. Concussions never fully heal. Like your
oh, I
brain
guess
is
that's
all
true.
like your brain is always not like that's the whole point of traumatic brain injury as like a special need and like why my
Yeah.
brother didn't do well in high school because he had football concussions and like why athletes have so many problems. Like if we could heal, like actually heal concussions,
It would change the world. We would
maybe we wouldn't have to pay professional athletes so much because it wouldn't necessarily be fucking like hazard pay anymore.
So me and you, that's our new business plan. We are gonna figure out how to heal concussions, and then we'll never have to like work on anything we don't want to work on anymore.
Fair. I mean, if I was gonna like magically heal a disease, I feel like I'd want to go for like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, but like
Mm,
concussion,
I feel like Parkinson's is probably still the farthest away. So maybe that would be
yeah,
the first one because it's the farthest away. But
yeah.
yeah, Alzheimer's would also be right up
There's
there.
a new treatment for that that just like
No.
came out this
Oh,
year.
you're about to tell me there was a new disease strain for that, like a new
No, I'm
for that. I
so
was like, please
sorry.
don't.
No, no, no. I saw something about a new Alzheimer's disease that's in trials
I
or
did see
disease
that.
treatment that's in trials right now that seems
I did see that, yeah.
promising. Um,
Oh, fingers crossed.
yeah. Um,
So we're healing concussions.
yes. So then he takes them to, so then he's like, they're like, well, why don't you just like leave? You figured out how the gate works, like just leave. And he's like, yeah, but like you have to see what we're protecting. And then it turns out that they have like thousands of their people in an underground stasis chamber. That's not creepy or anything. And they're like, why can't you just wake them up and take them? He's like, well, we can't wake them up until we're able to survive this war. That feels not correct.
Shady. Super shady.
Yeah. Um, then Alar takes the team into the war room and offers to let them test some of the technology, which Jack very reluctantly agrees to. He does, but he does not seem like he wants to at all, which feels, if you remember, my spoiler for last week was that this episode, Jack felt very not Jack.
Yeah.
And I,
Yeah, which is 1,000% accurate.
um, the tech uses a neural interface, which seems really great until they show Jack that if you use it for too long, it leaves you brain dead. And they just have like mentally handicapped people as pilots that are brain dead because of using the technology, which is, also a comment on the state of veterans of the Vietnam War, and that's fine.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Good
Yeah.
times. Good
Good
times. Still had my all.
times. Yeah. I mean, listen, the US government doesn't treat veterans of any war really great. Like, let's just make that super clear. But the state of veterans of the Vietnam War is like particularly upsetting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they had less things were less easily communicated then. Which is something that's changed, obviously, through like the
Yeah.
Afghanistan wars and whatnot. Our everyday wars, it's fine. That
I mean, I mean
all the time.
yeah.
I think we're
The
constantly in
veterans of
Cold Wars
the
with
yeah,
everyone anymore.
the
Like
the
it's
veterans
just
of the veterans in the Middle East are also physically a wreck. So that's
oh my gosh, but they have been since the start of time. It seems. Bless their hearts.
great.
Happy
Anyway,
news, happy days.
yeah, we're just like hating everything today.
Fine. Except Harry Potter.
That's true. Then they go to a dinner and the team like begins negotiations and Daniel gets his panties in a bunch about the idea of helping them with a war. He's like real upset about it, which is also not unusual for Daniel. He is not really pro-war. Um,
Yeah.
but his like refusal to back down is doesn't feel right either. Like I think that's why I
It,
didn't like this episode as much because
mm,
Jack and Daniel felt very much like they were not written correctly, which doesn't
right.
make any sense because it was Brad and
It's
Peter
the
who did
same.
the
Right.
episode.
Yeah, I feel like because of how off Jack felt though, like Daniel had to be that way to
Yeah.
counteract. Like it would have gone off the rails, and so it was just strange. Because you would
Um,
think, like watching, you would think that um Daniel would be like, "We'll do whatever for the technology," and he was the one kind of like fighting it off. He was like, "Let's wait, let's see, let's think about it."
yeah.
And Jack's like, "No,
Well,
we need the technology." And normally, I feel like
well,
Jack would be less like,
yeah, I mean, and Jack is the one who wants military tech usually. I get that. But also, Sam and Teal'c were 100% behind Jack. So Daniel was the odd man out, which even when Daniel
"Yeah,
and Jack butt heads, usually either Teal'c or Sam sympathizes with
right."
Daniel. So this just felt really wrong across the board. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I wrote everyone is against Daniel, who's basically pulling a 70s era anti-war protest like in the middle of this dinner. Um,
Yes, yes,
probably partially because the Vietnam War was on my mind, but that's what it
yeah,
felt like to me. Um,
yeah. You're
so
not
they
wrong.
go, so Sam and Daniel go back to talk to Hammond. Sam tells them that she agrees with Jack, and so does Hammond, and that upsets Daniel even more. So then Daniel, who rather than communicate this to the team, finally fucking communicates his issues to Hammond, which may be because Jack didn't give him a chance to speak. It also may be because he
Yeah,
was like having a little bitch boy moment and needed time to figure out how to communicate his feelings. Both could be accurate.
both probably are. Mm-hmm.
But he brings up the fact that they're basically aiding in a world war without actually knowing what side they're on, which got me thinking about
Mm-hmm.
no, because I was like, what if you were like an alien, like a humanoid alien who landed in the middle of Germany in the 1940s?
And the first
Like,
person you met was Hitler, who said that he
right,
needed help. Yeah,
right. And you're trying, because if you think about it, the technologies that the Germans were coming up with were so advanced at the time. Like, they were the brink
yeah.
of military prowess.
And
They,
medical. Like they
and
had better
yeah,
medical technology at the time. Like
yeah.
not
Then, and
more
I mean,
ethical, but more
I mean,
advanced.
right. But like I was just imagining, I was like, what if the first human you met was Hitler? Would you immediately know he was a bad person? Probably not, because how many Germans didn't realize how bad what Hitler really wanted to do? Are you writing this down as a thought for a story?
I am. That is fascinating. Like, what if the first person you met was Hitler? Like, that's fascinating. And I don't know where any of my pins are.
No, but I'm so, because you think about it, and we talk all the time, like, not you and I or necessarily the people watching this podcast, but like people in general talk all the time about how easy it was to turn a blind eye in Germany at the time. But also, it wasn't just that it was easy to turn a blind eye. The general common person didn't truly know,
didn't understand
the level of what was happening. And I think it's safe to say that there were a lot of people who were just following because A, they didn't know, they were never taught to question authority. And B,
they were taught not to question authority.
Right. And B, the technology and the medicine and the economics were ahead of the advanced. Right. And they had to be to come back from the depression after World War I, because Germany was so bad off that they had to make these advances to keep up. And it is really, really something to think about, because
I will now be thinking about it for the rest of my life. So thank you for introducing that concept to me.
Because I just think about it, because like you watch this episode, and yes, like Alar felt a little off, but like you watch this episode and I don't think you immediately think that Jack and Sam are in the wrong. I think like I think when you're watching it, you're like, well, all they want is water for nuclear fusion, and they're going to give us all of this technology, and it's going to help us fight the Goa'uld. And these people are destroying them every second of the day. Like, and all they want to do is be able to keep their power on. Like, of course we should help them. And then you find out what's actually going on, and it's awful. And I think about how many regimes in the world were aided until we knew what was actually going on. Like, even the fact that, like, in the war, the Soviet-Afghan war, we aided the Taliban to stop the Soviets from attacking Afghanistan. And then that didn't really work out in our favor.
Didn't pan out for us very well. Didn't go well.
In the history of war, who has ever been able to see both sides before they help?
Mm-hmm.
And that
you just have to jump in on faith and hope you pick the right side until you figure out what happens. Like,
right. And I don't know. I didn't
get it. I'm in the 70s anti-war era now. Yeah, I get it. You've convinced me.
I didn't love the episode, but I also just like was overwhelmed by what it made me think about that had nothing to do with the episode.
Yeah. Well, sometimes those are the best ones, because like, you know, that's what art is making you think. And so like something that sends you off on these tangents.
And we've also talked so many times about how Stargate has had this knack of being anti-government and pro-military at the same time. And the idea that like aiding someone with technology has a moral question, whether you're the person giving the order or the person following the order, is a huge like topic to break apart for military. Like, it's
oh yeah, well, that's not heavy at all. That's fine.
No.
Which is my other comment. I did not know what heavy water meant. They were like, it's heavy water they want, and I was like, I don't know. Is that like
I was really
water in Michigan where you have too many like salt, didn't have enough salt deposits or whatever it is.
No, I was really mad that Jack yelled at Sam when she was explaining what heavy water was, and he was like, I know what heavy water was. I was like, yeah, but we don't.
Also, no, you don't, Jack. Like, if I don't know what heavy water is, you don't know what heavy water is. Don't come at me.
Yeah. It is just a water molecule that has it has deuterium in it, which means I think one of the atoms is doubled, but I don't know how exactly that works, because it's not like a whole, because it's not it's not like, because water is obviously dihydrogen oxide,
Sure.
but it's not it's not hydrogen dioxide. Like you don't add another oxygen. I don't know. I don't know what the deuterium. I don't know what is doubled in that, but it's
Yeah,
something
I
where there's
just
an
said
extra atom
A
of
to
something
Z's part of
somewhere.
it. I just completely decided I didn't understand the middle, but I understood heavy water was a way you could add to nuclear
Yeah, which
things.
great.
So I got there in the end and I was like, that's it.
That's
That's it for
all.
me.
That's
That's
all
all
you
I
need.
need.
Um, so as this is going on, Sam and Daniel do bring back some heavy water, but not enough. But also because they didn't have a shit ton of it at base, and because Hammond realizes that we do need to ask some questions before we give them enough heavy water to completely run a
For
nuclear fusion
nuclear
plant.
warfare, yeah.
Yeah. And but while they're doing this, the base is being attacked, and so Jack and Teal'c help pilot some ships until Jack realizes that they're no longer dealing with unmanned reconnaissance planes. They're dealing with actual bombers that have people in it, and he did not agree to kill anyone.
He did not agree to this Gattaca game. I mean,
No.
Galactica. What is it? Is it Galactica or Gattaca? It's Gattaca?
What?
The arcade
Galactica.
game, too.
Because the problem is there's two. There's Galactica, and then there is, what's the other one called?
Is it
Um,
Gattaca? I think that's the one I'm thinking of.
Arcade Space Shooters. There is Galaxia
I
and
don't think that's
Space
it.
Invaders. Okay, Space Invaders and Galaxia. Those are the two.
Galaxia is the one I was thinking of then.
Okay.
I just named it every other G word before we got
Great.
there.
Great.
But
I was like, no, but there's definitely another one, but it's just Space Invaders. I don't know why.
yeah,
Um,
sure, yeah. Yeah, that's what it felt like he was playing. Like the screen looked like he was just playing like
yeah.
Galaxia or something.
So then they go back and they're having their weirdly somber celebration dinner, where they're also all cheers at like toasting a dead man that no one knows. It's fucking culty.
It is very culty. That is very fair.
So then Alar begins to like set out terms for the deal and put things in stone, and Daniel interrupts with more questions, and Jack is like, "Can you just shut up?"
I was like, how dare you? That is so rude.
Well, to be fair, earlier he was like, "You didn't get the hint when I told you to shut up." He goes, "You didn't tell me to shut up." So this time he did tell him to shut up. And I was like,
Yeah.
I see why. Don't love it.
It's still unnecessary. Still not okay.
So then Jack's like, I will take Daniel back. Sam's like, I'm gonna just stay here and learn some more about how you guys do the nuclear fusion, start to get a jump on this like learning your technology thing. Jack is like, I will personally make sure the heavy water comes back. So while they're walking back to the gate, Alar is like, when you come back, please don't bring the Jaffa with you. And Jack's like,
that set me on fire.
Jack's like, but he didn't say anything. And he's like, no, it's not really that he said anything. It's just because of what he is. Which I, again, immediately assume Jaffa-ness and people being assholes.
Right. There's a gold. Yeah, you never know. Sure.
Yeah. But that sets off Jack's spidey sense. He is like not about it.
Yeah,
So
he has a quick change of heart.
Yeah, Jack doesn't take people fucking with Teal'c very well. He's like, Daniel, change of plans, ask all of the questions. Then we see Sam like in the war room with Alar, like kind of learning some stuff. And she's like, this feels like it was built up way longer than this war. And we're like, ooh, things are not looking so hot. So then Jack is like, Teal'c, how do you feel about Alar? And he's like, he is hiding something. And he's like, what do you think he's hiding? He goes, I don't know. He's hiding it.
He says, I'm unsure. He's concealing it. And I was like, oh my gosh.
I
have to write that
also,
one down.
my favorite also was earlier when Jack and Daniel were fighting, and Jack was like, "It's a metaphor," or Daniel said, "I was using a metaphor," and Jack just goes, "Don't do that. It's unfair to Teal."
Oh, poor Poor Till. Bless his
um,
heart.
I just love the concept of someone who can't understand metaphors because we find it funny, but also I know those people who like
Yeah.
cannot understand a joke if it is figurative language. They just like, ooh. One of them is one of my students. He literally was he told me on the first day of being in my class though. It was the cutest thing. He raised his hand. He goes, Miss Lodick, I really don't understand metaphors. They confuse me, and I don't know what people are saying to me. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, you're aware of it, which is the first step.
Acceptance is the first step.
Right.
Bless his heart.
But so Teal'c and Jack are digging for answers, and they go to the stasis chamber and find out that all of the people are just the same. Like they flip through every like person in the stasis chamber, and it's like fucking creepy clones of the same three white faces.
Yeah. I was like, this gives a whole different meaning to Dolly.
Yeah.
Because
And
it's around the
then,
same time, right?
yeah, I guess
Was
it
Dolly a little
was.
bit later? Or was it was around this time, yeah.
I'm not sure.
I feel like it was late 90s.
Dolly the sheep was the first cloned lifespan 96.
We're
Yeah.
close. We're close.
Yeah.
Good times.
Interesting. Um, so Daniel also realizes that Alara's not going to tell him shit, so he decides to go around that and talks to Farrell, who's like the second in command, and is like, we keep talking about the enemy, but like, what do we call the enemy? And she was like, well, we call them breeders because they just repopulate without any concern for genetic purity. And I was like, oh, you're Nazis. Great.
Yeah, maybe don't pick the Nazi side. Jesus Christ. Also, she looked very familiar. I don't know if you looked her up. I did not, but she also looked very familiar.
do have some information about her.
Okay, great.
So the Sam, at the same time as everyone else is discovering this, is also discovering that she has some questions. Because there are like gas pipes that shouldn't really be going where they are. Doesn't really work. And that they're definitely responsible for the poison gas. So that's great.
This isn't a comment on Nazis. I don't know what it is. Like, it's in your face.
Yeah. No, it's a mess. Then they finally work out that the war is like definitely Alar's fault. Like, so they, once the base is getting attacked again, they choose the direction of also attacking the base, like the base and helping out. And just like letting everyone die, which is also a very conflicting feeling. You can see that Sam and Jack are like not okay with the choice they just made. But also
they can't
like
find a better one at the moment.
Right. But also it comes back to the like, if you could go back in history and kill Hitler, would you?
Yeah. It's a conundrum.
Yeah, so Alar tries to follow them out and Jack closes the iris. And I have to say, despite it not being graphic, one of the most horrific moments in Stargate, in my opinion, is the close-up of the impact on the iris of Alar following them. Like, it's not graphic. It's literally a computer scan, but like you know what's happening, and it's like deeply disturbing.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, and then it just ends with like a really somber moment.
What better way to end a Stargate?
I do have 3 small trivia pieces. One is a goof. Sergeant Harriman who is our cute little bald glasses friend who is always in Stargate Command. He is the most underrated character in the history of the show. We love him. He has like a line an episode, but he's always there, and when he's not, you notice it. His name badge clearly said Davis.
Not Major Davis.
No. He's the Sergeant Harriman. That is Sergeant Walter Harriman. He has a name. I don't know. Perhaps messed up that day.
Or maybe they did just see if I caught him. He was like an Easter egg.
Probably not. Probably perhaps messed up that day. The underground base on Uranus is actually the same set as the SGC, just redressed to look differently. So all of those like tight hallways with the angled beams, it is actually just the base.
Nice. Way to reuse, reduce, recycle.
Correct.
Stargate.
And then my last piece of trivia is that Anne-Marie, who plays Farrell, her last name in the credits of that episode is not actually her last name. She was using her maiden name for a while and then just changed it because she didn't want to use her married last name as a like a nepotism factor. Because her married last name is DeLuise. She is in fact Peter's wife.
Oh, I love
it. She will appear in Stargate again in another episode that he directs. And she looks familiar because she's been in just about every Hallmark movie you've ever seen. She's not like yeah. But yes. So
love.
But yes, so that she's just working with her hubs.
That is like a real family affair show.
Yeah,
like,
it sure was. Absolutely. On her IMDb, if you look at her trivia, it says daughter-in-law of Dom DeLuise and Carol Arthur.
I like it.
Yeah. So, do you have any thoughts, theories, questions that I can answer that don't involve Nazi warfare?
Oh no, that knocks them all out. That specification. But no, I feel like this is probably more of a one-off. I mean, they killed everyone, so like not a lot to go back to. So I don't have any like predictions.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't really have a lot going on at the end of this episode.
This is not trivia, but it should be. I actually almost was tempted to just rewatch the episode with the audio commentary on because my mom pointed out that the makeup jobs looked really bad in this episode. And I think based on the fact that the first episode of the season was the end of the two-parter, this is probably the first episode they filmed post a break. And I think Michael Shanks and Amanda Tapping both got sunburned because they just did not look great.
Yeah.
But that is based entirely on my mother and I's conjecture and not in any facts that I was able to find. So
I will believe it as a true fact. No questions.
Okay. Who would you like to punch?
Pilar. You know, the one trying to destroy all the worlds as leader of the Nazis.
And I'm gonna go with Farrell because she willingly followed along, and because honestly she looks like a child of the Aryan race.
Yeah.
Gross.
Very, very true.
Who is your MVP?
Daniel Jackson.
Right.
Because while he was kind of the baby, he was the only one saying the right things. Everyone else was just kind of like going along with it. And he's like, I have a few questions first. Like, I'm not going to just jump right in.
Yeah, that is really the only truly correct answer, but I will, because you chose Daniel Jackson, I will give it to Teal'c because Teal'c doesn't say much, he doesn't speak up, but the first chance he had to give his opinion, he also was like, this feels wrong.
Yeah.
Nothing about this is correct. He was never really going along with anything. He just doesn't, because of his military training, he doesn't step up to Jack unless it is necessary. And
Right.
he did not have that opportunity because
Yeah. And he
Daniel was
didn't
already
have
doing
the
it.
right knowledge with this like group of people. Like he'll do it
Right.
when he's around like the
Yeah.
other like Jafar or like Gold because he knows them better.
Yeah,
But like he
when
doesn't
he
know
knows,
anything
yeah, when
about
he
this.
knows something is off or wrong, he will speak up, but he doesn't trust his instinct as much yet.
Yeah.
He like has a gut feeling, but he won't share his gut feeling unless he's asked because he's still balancing that life of what he was trained to do versus what he has been doing.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
also that blonde goatee, man.
No, that was a terrible life decision.
And it was
It's
2000. That's what people did.
it's still a terrible life decision for all involved in the blonde soul patch goatee.
Man, what a time.
What a time to be alive.
What? All right. Well, with that, oh God, I searched blonde goatee 2000 and
Don't
everything that
do
came
that.
and everything that came up was like pictures of Brad Pitt and Jared Leto. And like if that doesn't tell you what time we were living in, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
So with
I'm
that,
still living in that time, but it's okay. The Brad Pitt and Jared Leto times.
I keep getting commercials for the new Haunted Mansion movie, which to be fair, looks like they're actually going to do it correctly
That's what I'm hearing from
until
everyone.
every fucking time they say that Jared Leto's playing the Hatbox Ghost, and then I want to throw myself out the fucking window. And like not in the cool way that actually happens of throwing yourself out the window on the ride. Like
Sure. Yeah. The way where you actually perish. You don't just get a death certificate, you get a real life one. Yeah.
but I probably will have to see it, so because like how do you not?
I'm
But
excited. I think it's gonna be good.
if you have thoughts about Hitler or Jared Leto, neither of whom I'm big
Not
fans of,
Stargate, just Hitler or Jared Leto.
you can email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com, or you can follow us on all of the social media at deathandaliens. You can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can follow me at CE Cloud 13.
And we will see you on Thursday for our Thriller Thursday episode where we talk about The Exorcist, the TV show, not the movie.